and clearly the other guys has a different voice. I think this is very close to, in many ways, Bach, where you would have two voices, right? Not one. So could you? The second voice could be more, could be less, but a different tone at the piano. One of the ways of doing that. Yes, so that you follow. The second voice could have an irritating quality, maybe tee-dee-da-dum, could interrupt. It doesn't have to be subdued. It can be less parallel. It can augment. It can diminish. You're very creative that way. It doesn't have to be just not too much. But that way you can follow. This is when you look at any score of music. It could be orchestrated. You could have a melody, clearly either flute, or oboe, the violins, the cello. We're doing everybody. So can you sing me just the bass? Can you sing this? Sing it, don't play it. Do you hear it in the hand? When you play, you want ta-da. But when you sing, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying make sure that if go pa-da, and that's going to be the end of something. So maybe if you go ta-da, ta-da, it seems to go somewhere. Ta-da, da-da, do you see what I mean? You could make crescendo with the other guys. One more time. Both hands. When later, ta-dam, it becomes so powerful because you have basically on the paper all 16ths are 16ths. That's just mathematically correct, but emotionally, you could say there's quite a range to a 16, right? A tired 16, a vanquished 16, out of sorts, all kind of 16 searching, etc. So if you agree that if you were to play them, it's a good exercise. Put a metronome. One of the things that happen when you do put a metronome, it's pretty much like Mozart. When you don't want to mess with the tempo, you have many more colors. You have to do that. I suggest that in order to find your colors, do it with rubato, so that you find them. Right? You can be on a treasure hunt, but we only have 25 minutes. Give yourself some room to find the treasure to begin with. Once you have it, you have to decide, does the music benefit from being equal? Or is it, if it has a brooding quality and you go ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, just keep the brooding quality. And if it has a forwardness and you start doing this, then you kill the forwardness. So it's not a point of view, it's what fits the material. Then one last thing, if this can you keep the two first tone? That's one. Just try. Wait on this one. No. Now, you all know, you all have seen a piano. It seems obvious, but I want to say it anyway. When you play, forgive me, just for 1 second. The way this is built, you have about 3 feet string here, and as you know, this shape, you have very long strings and very short string. Unfortunately, that's where the melodies are. This is where the accompaniment is. So, when you play them equal, I mean, no cheating, you play equal weight, equal speed, everything, you get typically more left hand. So even you will always hear that if you play them the same. So there is a valid point that's saying that playing equally, as certainly was told, make sure you play equally, you're actually playing unequally. Because the way the instrument is built, you will always get more left hand. If you want the same, you have to have a different ratio. You have to have 100% always here, 50%. So you get, it's more, this, on this piano it's not quite the same. That's better. And if you want, instead of getting tendinitis, you know, we often fight our own left hand because the left hand is playing and someone is screaming, sing, sing. There's no way, the waves are too big. So, and depending on what piano, like this, that thing, it will be even harder. So if you want this more, you have to do 25%. So if you know, we all have, forgive me, this challenge. We want to be true to the score, which is a very noble attitude. We're trying to divine what's in there. But you're faced with lots of conflict. If you open any Beethoven symphony, it's written forte for everybody. Ask the piccolo if he feels equal to a trombone. No way. I mean, so even though it's written forte, there might be a crescendo to fortissimo. But if you think the piccolo has a voicing that is important, you might ask the trumpet to go only from mezzo to forte, and ask the piccolo to start the crescendo earlier. It's called voicing, right? So, my suggestion, musically speaking, it's actually a quite courageous one if you think about it. Because if you play, you know 111 Beethoven? Yeah, exactly, that one. When, with the scary opening, when you have, imagine that you are a composer, so the music comes first somewhere in your mind. It's a power, it's a feeling, it's something, and you hear orchestra, because what's written is a fourth sound on the fourth beat, so you get ba-dum, beep, da-da-da-dum, ba-da-dum. Now you go to the piano, and you go da-da, dee-dee, maybe with your head. But there is absolutely, so you have a loss between thought and instrument, because this instrument can do some things, cannot do others. Then you have a further loss because maybe the there were like two sobs. Maybe there was a gesture, but it's spelled da 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 da, pa 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 da da. That's not at all what was played, but that's how it spells. But at least you still have like a, you know, a letter versus a printed email. You can have the smell of it. The person was crying on it. You know, when you read soldiers' letters, very touching. It's real. Someone touched this. And then the printed one is so cold. It's like a bunch of black stuff, all organized with the 14, 16 and this and that. So I would say if you're true to the last step, you could argue, what are you true to the score, to the printed note? I would say you have to take a leap of faith. You actually have to say, before it was even played, what do you think that feeling was? Therefore, all the rhythmic freedom, emotional freedom, dynamics, range. Liszt in Weimar, there is masterclasses by Liszt. It's very interesting because one of the way we know he studied was purely rhythmically, lines versus bass. I mean, very thorough. But the last step, he added all the dynamics and tempos changes that were not written in the score. So that means there is investigating quality in it. And I'm telling you that because sometimes we start from the score. And I would say this is the last. Yeah, so I don't know how many of you saw National Treasure, but there was a great line in it to me when the Nicolas Cage character knows that bad guys are going to steal the constitution, and as a patriot, he will steal it first, because the stealing is not right, but he's stealing in order to protect. So there's so many examples where it's written away, but it takes really a form of alchemist kind of genius to make music come to life. And if you start from whatever on the paper, yes. But what is it that forces that that moves it, or that suspends it? Because you can only say that harmony feels like it doesn't know, right? Like a jazz musician, you can say this chord feels different from this one and from, right? You would say this one is more tense, this one is, so you could say this is a questioning harmony, this is a navigating harmony. And once you start operating on that level, the score comes to life totally differently than from the adding of it. Do you see what I mean? So try one more time. It's very different if you sing at that level of it has some words are so stupid in front of music, isn't it? My favorite was always, and I taught at Juilliard, very often there were students that came straight from China or Korea and they had no vocabulary even. So it was absolutely wonderful because all they would say is, I got it. Okay, we're good. So, heck with English. But on the paper you get rhythmically. But maybe some delay between that 16 and this. Do you see what I mean? Otherwise it comes a little bit. One more time and really, can you play your left hand? Let me try for a third down, even maybe half. One more time from the beginning. From the very beginning. One more time. You do crescendo. You see, it grows so fast on you. You have to do this kind of balancing act. If you do this, it actually does this. So can you keep your melody, and you see the more flat response the bass is, it's uninterrupted by the left hand. The second this monster goes it kills your B flat because we have ta-da. Only play the melody. Just you hear? Yeah, listen long to the B flat. So that you're here. You don't hear T papa, no. T you hear the B flat linear. One more time. Both hands.